Uh, this one is dedicated to my mom. Disturbing Movies and Coffee, Part 3. Movies my mom introduced me to advertently or inadvertently. Most of the time, inadvertently. But I'll explain. Uh, I love my mom. I miss her. She's in Indiana. I'm in Virginia. Uh, this one is a video for her to give her a laugh for sure. We're actually going to get 6 movies here because one of the entries is 2 parts. But anyway, the first movie, my mom, this was advertent, sort of. We got a movie from the video store, Faces of Death, back in the 80s. And I don't think any of us knew what we were getting into. But a faux documentary, which at the time we believed very much all of it to be real, but some of it was actually simulated. We found out years later. But it's a documentary about death and showing some real deaths and some fake deaths. But supposedly the fake deaths were based on some real videotapes they saw, which weren't allowed to be shown. But well, whatever. Anyway, you'll never forget the experience. If you haven't already seen Faces of Death, probably most everybody has. But if you haven't, you should definitely see it because there's no mood like that mood that you get from a film. The mood it'll put you in and making you think about death. Stuff America don't like. But highly recommended. Uh, Next, my mom inadvertently introduced me to my favorite horror film, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. She may not even know until this moment that she's responsible for that. And let me tell you about that. So, my mom used to work at a video store back in the 80s. She was the manager. I got to see all kinds of movies all the time for free, which was awesome and helped breed that cinephile in me. But one night at our place back in Dry Fork, um, she had these 2 movies she had brought home. I don't know if it was for her to watch or my grandma who lived with us. I have no idea. They were there. And I watched them. And first night I was terrified as fuck. But as the years have gone on, they're both still very creepy movies, but I love them with all of my heart. There, Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite. There's no film, and plus Part 2 is also very underrated, very very underrated. The wonderful Bill Moseley is Chop Top, but those 2 films, what sets them apart? Most people have probably already seen them, so I won't go through the same old stuff. But what sets these 2 movies apart is the chaotic atmosphere. You'll never see movies in your life, at least in my opinion, that match the chaotic atmosphere of both of those movies. When you feel you've got in there and you're hanging out with the Sawyer family, and it's all normal to them. And for a while you're watching the movie, it's kind of normal, kind of creepy too, but it takes you to a place that makes many, many people uncomfortable and always makes these movies show up on the disturbing list. I wanted to say again, Part 2 is extremely underrated, and I don't know why because it's awesome. Carolyn Williams is awesome. The whole cast is awesome, and Dennis Hopper, who didn't really like to be associated with the film, he's really great in it too, and it's awesome. I know I use that word a lot, but love those 2 movies to pieces. The next entry is completely advertent. Uh, My mom told me this was the movie that was the scariest movie ever made to me back then. It was made in 1972, called The Last House on the Left. Most people are very familiar with this one, or at least the remake in the 90s, which is far, far inferior, by the way. See the original from Wes Craven, his first film. Uh, People have a lot of problems with this one. It's about these two girls who one is going out for her 16th birthday party with her friend, trying to score some pot. They go to the wrong house. They get tortured and killed, and later on, the killers end up at the family's house in a set of circumstances. Once the family finds out, they want to exact revenge. And that's the movie right there. And I didn't think there was need of a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Everyone's heard of this movie, I'm sure. But anyway, what makes people most uncomfortable, the torture scenes are still very gruesome, still very under your skin, creepy crawly uh, type of feeling. And there's all this misplaced, inappropriate comic humor that shows up in between these scenes. And those things in particular make people very uncomfortable. Once I showed this movie to a guy named Red, his nickname was Red, his real name was Wesley, back in Jacksonville, Florida, when I lived there. And he was so disturbed, he left the room. I still couldn't get over it. I mean, he couldn't take any more of it. It really got to him. This movie still gets to a lot of people, including my mom, and it's still a very important movie, very uncomfortable movie. Last House on the Left, 1972. Next is another Inadvertent movie she introduced me to. Uh, it's called Kissed from 1996. Now, Mom had originally got this movie for herself, thinking she was getting some romantic drama. And I assume the reason why she showed up to say, "Here, take this movie if you want it. I don't want it," and gave it to me. And the reason why is because Kissed is a necrophilia movie. It's about this woman who's been very obsessed with death. She was a child, and she goes to work at a morgue, of course, and starts playing around with the bodies, and that makes her happy, makes her horny, all that good stuff. And in the meantime, there's a guy that really wants to make a relationship with her, but she's just not interested because he's living. And Molly Parker does a crazy, whacked out job playing the main character. And this movie is definitely unique. I mean, I know there's a lot of necrophilia movies out there, and some of them I'm sure I'll get into in later volumes of this video, like Necromantic. But this one stands out because there is a lot of feeling to it. And you especially feel for the male character who wishes he could be close to this girl he loves, but he's alive. So she's not that interested. But Kissed, 1996. See it. And finally, the last one. My memory is I'm not sure whether it was advertent or inadvertent. All I know is she's the reason I saw it. I know they had a laser disc of it years ago. I Spit on Your Grave, the classic. I Spit on Your Grave. Not the remake. The remake's good. Talking about the original. And I know the first time I saw it, I was in a house that I was with Mom. I don't know if she was with her dad then before they divorced or afterwards. It's kind of muddy. I just know I saw it through that. And I Spit on Your Grave is still probably for me, the most gruesome rape movie. A lot of people choose Irreversible, or some other ones I'm sure will come up in other episodes, but I still think this one's the worst in terms of how far it goes. And Roger Ebert made a very classic review about it years ago. If you haven't read, great read. But he's what made that movie famous by hating it. But it's about a girl played by Camille Keaton, who's actually Buster Keaton, related to the classic actor Buster Keaton. But anyway, she plays a writer who goes off to write her novel and go on vacation. And she can think and create and all of that. She goes to the wrong place. There's a couple of crazy little hicks that represent everything about bad men there is to offer. Within each of those characters, it's somewhere represented. But a bunch of men, well, one which is mentally incapacitated, they rape her, and it's a very long, excruciating rape, over a half an hour long. It just goes on and on and on, and it's horrific. And it's also a rape revenge fantasy, so it's about her taking revenge afterwards. It's actually an entertaining movie, but of course it's not entertaining to watch all the horrible shit happening. But it's a well-made movie, I think. And yes, it's exploitive, but it's a classic, and it must be seen. If you haven't already seen it, which you probably have, but I Spit on Your Grave. Great movie. Now, oh, and if you ever get the special DVD copy with Joe Bob Briggs' commentary, do it. It's worth your time. Trust me. And Joe Bob Briggs spends the commentary disproving all the things that Roger Ebert said in his original review about I Spit on Your Grave. Overall, thank you, Mom. I love you. Thank you for adding to my disturbances. And I hope this video gave you a giggle. So, much love. And see you next time.